Hello everyone. I hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. Remember, if you're feeling fine, you can take better care of your loved ones. So, in the past, I did talk about toxic relationships, toxic mother, toxic father, toxic lover. So, today I'm back with another topic, and that is in-laws, toxic mother-in-law and toxic father-in-law. So, I mean, how do we identify? Some of us, we are unable to identify, or we are unable to process whether at all some relations are toxic or not. But there are simple traits and behaviors that one can look out for in order to, understand whether at all that person or the relationship is toxic or not. So, without any delay, let me get into understanding, or rather helping you all understand what toxic in-laws are all about. So anything that is toxic, of course, we know is not good for us, and the same goes for relationship as well. So what are the signs to look out for a toxic mother-in-law or a father-in-law? The first one to look out for is that they have a lot of ego issues, and often a lot of them are narcissists, and they are always right. Even if they do mistake, they never agree to it, and no matter what you propose to them, they have their own standpoint, and no matter what you do or no matter what they do, they have things very clear, and that is that they are always right. They are never wrong at all. You can be wrong, but they are never wrong. So you can say that they are in their own dystopian dimension, where they think that whatever they are saying or doing is right, and they don't prefer listening, and it shows in their behavior. I mean, the arrogance, the ego, and it all reflects that they are always right, and they can never be wrong. No matter if something wrong happens and it's right on their face, still they will never admit to it, because they are sure that they are always right. The second sign is that they are dismissive. So anything that is not according to them, they just dismiss it. So if you do something which they don't subscribe to or which they don't like, they will not be cooperative at all. They will not be encouraging or motivating you to do that. So it's always about them. Anything which they do is fine, but if someone else does, or someone else seeks, some validation, or if someone seeks, some opinion, they are very dismissive about it. If they don't like it, they just dismiss it. There is no scope of them sitting and trying to process and understand for the sake of relationship. No, they are just into dismissing things. They are very dismissive in nature. The next point is they make it very clear that they don't like you. So here what you need to understand is that, parents, your own parents are very different, your own children are very different, and the same we cannot keep expecting from, around the world. So in-laws can't really replace your parents, and the same way, daughter-in-law or son-in-law can't replace, your own daughter or son. So certain relationships can never be replaced. They are relationship that you're not born with, but you acquire and you get into once you grow. So you really need to have less expectations when it comes to mother-in-laws or father-in-laws. They can never replace your father or mother. In some cases, yes, they are very good and cooperative, but that quotient or that fraction of good in-laws is less, not huge. Yeah, and also in their action also, they show. They really don't hide, or they really don't pretend. They make it sure that it is quite clear and evident that they just don't like you. No matter what you do for them, they just don't like you. And as we have talked about, they are very dismissive. They are always right. So it all adds up. That is just another phase where they are very clear about it, that they don't like you. Maybe they might not say that they don't like you, but whatever you do is not correct. Whatever you do is immature. Whatever you cook is not correct. Whatever the way how you keep and manage the house is not correct. So it's in their psyche that this is not my own, and this relationship, I mean, mother-in-law always have, I mean, these toxic mother-in-laws and father-in-laws, they always see their daughter-in-law, son-in-law as punch bags. So no matter what, they think, they feel very entitled that their children is married to the daughter-in-law, the son-in-law, and these parents, these toxic in-laws have a sense of entitlement. So they just consider their daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws, they take them for granted, and they just treat them like punching bags. So I mean, they really don't want to build up that bridge, which can help a healthy relation grow. So yes, they're very clear that they don't like you with their action, with their words. They make it very clear. And if you are delusional, if someone is constantly seeking validation, or someone is a people pleaser or seeking love out of them, no, it shows, it reflects. You can't force someone to love you. If they don't love you, that's it. So just take care of yourself and your partner and keep moving forward. So that is how toxic in-laws are, and especially in our Indian society, of course, under the garb of a lot of religion, culture, ethos, and all of that. A lot of abuse happens. Mother-in-laws abuse daughter-in-laws, father-in-laws abuse daughter-in-laws, and the abuse is vice versa. These days, the abuse is vice versa. Earlier, only the cases of toxic mother-in-law and father-in-law was reported, but these days there is a rise of the cases related to these daughter-in-laws are also getting abusive. So if you see, there is a point, I mean, like once the son gets married, the in-laws should get into a kind of a relationship where they are very accepting and understanding, and they should learn how their daughter-in-law is, and they should learn more about her and try and cooperate and build up that bridge. But in initial stage only, they just burn the bridge with their narcissism and ego, and that is the reason after some time it's someone else's daughter. She won't take it, and she completely cuts off or shuts down. And that is how these toxic in-laws burn their bridges, and then go on ranting and blaming that my daughter-in-law took my son away, my daughter-in-law is not doing this and that. I mean, it's a two-way process. Daughter-in-laws are not slaves or servants, right? And they are not here to do what you want them to do. They have their own life. They have their autonomy, over their own life. So, these kind of toxicities, narcissism and ego, and being delusional about certain things, makes these toxic in-laws go to such an extent that they really ruin the relationship, and that is when they suffer in their old age, because then the daughter-in-law is not there, and or she is not interested, and it is a two-way process, because the in-laws have burned the bridge. They didn't treat her like own. At least they could have been open. They could have talked about it. They could have tried to understand how she is and tried being friendly with her. That's all. You really don't have to do much. But if that openness is not there, nobody takes it. It's 2022. So I mean, like tolerance is less. People are busy in their own life. Everyone is having a lot of mental health conditions, and everyone is having challenges in their life. So not everyone is in a mood to take all of these things, and people are independent. So such toxicities are being called out, and people give up such relationships. Yeah. So now moving on to the next point, these toxic parents, expect complete subservience and submission, and such daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws who keep pleasing them. So they have a very weird sense of entitlement, that they want their daughter-in-laws or son-in-laws to completely surrender to them and listen to them and be subservient, and just say yes, yes, and yes to everything. So in a way, if you see, these are not the expectations of a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is a two-way process where both put in together, and if the relationship grows, be it husband, wife, be it in-laws, be it mother, daughter, be it sister, brother, anyone. So it's a two-way process. One-way expectations, with expectation comes, other things as well, like rights and duties, and everything goes hand in hand. So just constantly expecting something from someone who's not even your own, and you just don't know, they grew up in a different surrounding, and different upbringing is there. So how can you expect? So you shouldn't have a long list of expectations are the root cause of problem, and that ruins. And a lot of these mother-in-laws and father-in-laws suffer in their old age, and even the son suffers because the partner just gives up because of the toxicity of the parents. So the son gets into a compromising situation where he has to balance, and he gets a little stressed out. So it's a two-way process. Just the same way how a husband and a wife should work out things together, it's the same thing with the in-laws and their daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws. So don't have such long list of expectations. That is extremely toxic. And daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws can choose to disagree. They have their own life. So they cannot be subservient and always saying yes, yes, yes to everything that you say or you expect them to. So that is one of the aspects of a toxic in-law. The next one is, these toxic in-laws have a lot of control issues. Like, some of these mother-in-laws, they just want a specific amount of money to be invested in the grocery, and they like controlling things. Only specific amount of milk should be used for tea, only specific amount of vegetables should be cooked, and blah, blah, blah. So, you can add in, there is all this weird, control issues with, especially with these mother-in-laws. Because they have a history of abuse. They were abused by their mother-in-law, so they want to exercise it. It's deeply set in their subconscious, and they really don't want to heal and overcome that. So they want to, replicate the same thing. They want to go through the same thing, not knowing that it is abusive and toxic, and no daughter-in-law will tolerate it for long. So, the control issue is there, when to get up, when to sleep. So these in-laws have issues when their, daughter-in-laws or son-in-law gets up, what they do, how they do, what they wear, how many times they touch their feet, how many times they should eat, how much money they should keep with themselves, and how much money they should give it to these parents. So this is absurdity, height of toxicity, and these are simply, I call such in-laws as control freaks. They are not parents, they are not in-laws, they are just freaks, they are just control freaks. So, control issues are there in toxic in-laws. Yeah, that is one thing to look out for. The next one is, these in-laws, these toxic in-laws, they don't respect your words, choices or personal space. It's all about them. The mother-in-law has to be the center of attention. She feels so entitled that she's the only woman who should be awarded by the husband, by the son, and by the daughter-in-law as well. Whereas it's a family, it's a unit, everyone has to, do their part. And of course, we have a lot of these Bollywood movies which has, really conditioned and, spoiled people's mind, and further pushed them towards their own self-deracination. And, a lot of these abuses are often sold in society under the name of sanskar, under the name of being a sanskari and being a good, morally good, daughter-in-law. So basically, if I interpret, the more tolerance a daughter-in-law has towards any kind of abuse that is being, done from her in-law side, that daughter-in-law is said to be the ideal and the best daughter-in-law. The more tolerance she has towards the abuse and toxicity of the in-laws, the better she's seen in this society. So that is how sick our society is, and that is how sick family and marriage systems have become. So yes, these toxic in-laws, they really don't respect your words, what you like, what you don't like. It's always about them. So that is one of the things to look out for. These are, of course, signs of narcissism as well, where it's just all about them. They are the best. They are the best cook. They are the best in cleaning. They are the best in raising their son. They are the best wife. And you need to learn from them. Though they might be illiterate, they might be just crazy in a lot of ways, but they accept the daughter-in-laws to learn from them. So I think there is a lot of mental health issues that goes unchecked in our society, and since it is considered a taboo, everything goes under the garb of religion and being very good and civilized. So all these toxicities are sold by these names, under these names. So yes, I mean, toxic in-laws don't respect your choices, hobbies, or they don't respect your personal space. So if you close the door and if you're doing something, they'll knock 10 times and they'll be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing? Oh, after my son goes to work, she just goes inside the room and locks the room. She doesn't even talk to us. You have to, start the communication. If the wavelengths are not matching, what do you expect someone else to do? Sit and talk to you or listen to your rubbish things? No, she has her own life. She's an individual person with an individual mind. It's not a collective mind or a hive mind that we are talking about. Everyone should think the same. No, I mean, like she can choose to disagree, and she can just be dismissal towards your action, behavior as well. So I mean, setting up really high standards and setting up really high expectations from in-laws, I mean daughter-in-laws and son-in-law, is another kind of an if you see, it's a very narcissistic and toxic trait, a very egocentric narcissistic trait that they are just invalidated. They are not considered an individual entity. Only their child, I mean these toxic in-laws consider their child, their son, as an extension of them, and she's someone who's coming to the house and married, so she has to do what he will say and what I will say. So that's pure absurdity, and that is the reason a lot of these daughter-in-laws just give up the responsibilities. And yes, I have also got an experience in my own personal life. So yes, toxic in-laws can be painful, and the best way for all those girls who are having toxic in-laws is just that you maintain a safe space and create a healthy boundary. And I mean, if you can't stay together, I mean you should, if your guy is capable, you should stay separately. So staying in toxicity and raising children in such toxicity, it's a never-ending cycle of dysfunctionality and toxicity. So I think space is very essential, and if things don't click, there's no point forcing yourself, because change has to be a two-way process. They have to change a bit, you have to change a bit, and that's how it can be worked out. And if ego is there and too much of stubbornness is there, I don't think that that's a healthy relationship any which ways. Yeah. The next point is, these toxic in-laws are into playing emotional games big time. If you don't agree to them, they will approach their son, that why she's doing like this. I gave birth to you, I did so much for you. See, I mean, having sex and reproducing is something which is a conscious decision of two people, a man and a woman. They can choose to have sex and procreate. But constantly guilt tripping and blaming the child and emotionally abusing them and exploiting them to get their work done, I don't think that is fair. That is pure emotional abuse. So these toxic parents are too much into abuse. See, I carried you for 9 months. These are the kind of emotional games that these mother-in-laws play. I gave birth to you, I kept you for 9 months, and I mean she doesn't listen to me. You did not keep her for 9 months. It's you who kept your son, right? It's you who gave birth to your son. You did not give birth to your daughter-in-law. So why having such expectations, and why so much of manipulation in making her do things which she doesn't want to? Yeah, so it's absolutely sick. And I mean, like, majority middle class families I have seen, there is quite a lot of toxicity. The joint families, nuclear families, of course, it's much better. And a lot of people are preferring nuclear families because joint families are real toxic, and especially when the in-laws are together, it is really toxic. Because see, a big family is absolutely fine. You can stay in a big joint family, and that's perfect. That's how people used to stay. But everyone used to have their own space, not just exercising abuse and exploitation on each other. Yeah. So I mean, that's not good. I mean, if things are not good and if both parties are not able to work out things together, I don't think there is any point of staying under the same roof. It's just that burdening or compromising, and it's absolutely dysfunctional. So that was another point. Toxic in-laws are into a lot of emotional games, mostly the toxic mother-in-laws. The next point is that they love audience and love their appearance. They are always self-centered. So these toxic in-laws, they just want to be the center of attraction. The moment they see their daughter-in-law or son-in-law, they try to overpower them in a gathering or in a family, maybe in a festival or celebration or wedding. They just want to look and sound more powerful than their daughter-in-law or son-in-law. And this has been seen in a lot of families, where the mother-in-law is bragging about her cooking skills and just dismissing the cooking skills of daughter. Father-in-law is bragging about his hardship and dismissing his son's hardship and not recognizing his hardship. It's always them. It always centers, or everything circles around them. They have seen the worst, they have done the best, and that's it. And they want people to recognize that. But these in-laws, toxic in-laws, they don't want to hear the other side of the story. So this is how toxic in-laws are. These are a couple of signs to look out for. And trust me, with my own experience, I have stayed away from my family as well because it was quite toxic after a point. And I had relationships in the past, and I am in a relationship now. And I think it's always better to be with your partner and have that healthy space. Then I think the relationships are good. But overburdening and forcing relations don't work. The same thing is with love. The same thing is with any relationship. So yes, it's a two-way process, and some in-laws are good. I have seen there are, but they're very handful. And for everyone, their kid is high priority. These selfish, toxic mother-in-laws and father-in-laws, their heart aches when something happens to their daughter, but they never hesitate in hurling abuses and torment on their daughter-in-laws. So that is a very sad thing. They don't, feel bad if, I'm talking about the Indian society, the mother-in-law feels bad when her daughter-in-law doesn't produce a son, an heir. But the mother-in-law is okay if her daughter has given birth to 2-3 daughters. So with own, they have a very different dynamics. With someone else who's come in the family or joined the family, there is different dynamics. Instead of being welcoming, they immediately get into harassing, their daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws. So I have seen both the ways. I have seen father-in-laws also being very abusive towards son-in-law. And in my close relation, I have seen that the father-in-law had been very demeaning towards the newlywed son-in-law in the family, and he was constantly, indirectly abusing and exploiting that. Oh, you're not as rich as me. Oh, you are incapable. You're too young. Oh, you're not even tall. So I mean, like, there are a lot of things that happens, but the saddest part is that nobody talks about it. We have become such hypocrites. I'm talking about the Indian society, because the majority of my time I've spent in India. So there is quite a lot of toxicity and abuse and exploitation. And trust me, it's all under the fabric of morality, being social, being sanskari, and all. So it's a very sad state. Every family is having mental health crisis and issues, and it is not diagnosed because they think it is normal. They think it's absolutely perfect. and that is where the biggest problem occurs, when you start accepting dysfunctionality and toxicity as something normal. You grow up seeing that and you keep on doing that, and then to back up the toxicity, they say if 4 people are there, there has to be some fight. If 4 people are there, there has to be some disagreement. Fine, disagreements are fine, but what is this narcissism, and what is this endless abuse and tormenting the daughter-in-law and son-in-law, and emotionally harassing them? So maybe that is the reason dysfunctional families are leading to dysfunctional kids. Dysfunctional kids are leading to dysfunctional families again, and dysfunctional society. So maybe these all are the reasons that is contributing, in making our country a third world country, because we are never able to, evolve out of these petty things, and we are not working in improvising ourselves. We are just working on either exploiting or abusing or cheating or doing some crazy stuff to survive, and some kind of toxicity and abuse, and that's it. So I mean, we if you see, as a race, we have really gone down. We are less evolved. Majority of the beings are less evolved. Poverty is there. Still rapes are happening. Still, for dowry, daughter-in-laws are burnt and abused, and still, there is a lot of resistance. There is a lot of fake cases on mother-in-laws and father-in-laws. Wife is abusing husband and mother-in-law. So it's vice versa. It's not that just one way. Something triggers, and that is how all of this starts. So yes, a relationship is all about working out things together and growing up together emotionally. It's not that someone is there to please you. Nobody is king, queen, and god and goddesses. We hear a lot of these, statements that parents are gods. What about if the parent is a thief? What about a murderer who has a child? He's a god? I don't think he's a god. What about a rapist who has got 2 children? What about a shoplifter who has got a family? What about a terrorist who's got a family? So they are gods. I mean, they are demon for someone else, but God for their own. So then this theory is pushed. So the entire problem is that we don't like addressing abuse. We don't like addressing true toxicity. And this is basically, we don't do that so that we can further help exploitation and get our work done by exploiting someone else. So this is the mindset of majority of the people that I see on a regular basis. And because of all of that, the family is not growing, the family is not evolving. Just having sex and breeding, I don't think that is what evolvement or development is all about. One should grow the mind, one should grow emotionally, one should become strong emotionally, financially, physically. But if you see, it's a very different kind of a rat race. Everybody wants to just procreate, not give a healthy life, not create a healthy atmosphere in the house, just want to procreate, give the same toxicity to the other, then they give the same toxicity to the other, and the society is becoming dysfunctional. So yes, this was all about toxic in-laws, toxic mother-in-law, toxic father-in-law. I mean, typical sas, bahu, sasur, I mean that it is called in Hindi. So yes, it's all about sas bahu thing, toxic in-laws. And in case if you have had an experience with a toxic in-law, please do comment below. I would love to read your experience. And the best way or the only solution to all these problems is that just create a healthy boundary and stay away from toxic people. That's all. Create healthy boundary and stay away. There's no harm. Stay away. Because if you don't fix yourself, no one else is going to fix. The world has become chaotic and abusive. So when abuses are being generalized, when abuses are being normalized, under the garb of system, morality, society, religion, sanskar, so it's gone to a next level. And when you call out the abuse, then you are seen as a taboo and as an evil. So that is another funny side of our hypocrite society. So yes, this was all about toxic in-law, and please do like, share, subscribe the channel, and lots of love and blessings to all of you. Please take care of yourself. Bye.